All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Miracle in the Mirror podcast for P2R. My name is Lejean. I'm the project coordinator at P2R, real estate investor, entrepreneur. And today we have our guest, Miss Wendy Caldwell. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Wendy Caldwell, and I am the founder and executive director of P2R Training and Resource Center Incorporated.
Thank you so much for being here with us today,
Thank
Wendy.
you.
So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's
Okay.
go ahead and tell the folks, who are you? Why are you here?
I started a nonprofit in 2020. Um, After launching a LLC, I kind of transitioned into the nonprofit because there was more access to resources for marginalized groups, and that was the population I wanted to serve. Basically, I'm a retiree from the Department of Corrections and Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services. I've worked with marginalized populations for over 30 years, and I've been a program administrator as well as a specialist in working with underserved populations. I had this strong desire to start an agency that could assist them with accessing services and also being supported while they navigate through those services. There's a lot of resources in Lorain County, but I did not see where the person was being supported all the way through their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is necessary in order for a person to complete um, their access to wholeness. When they're trying to become
Absolutely.
self-actualized, they need some support. Um,
Absolutely.
that was my beginning on the nonprofit side.
Hmm.
As far as my career, I worked with the reentry population from institutional settings.
Let's not downplay it, folks. If you did not know, Miss Wendy, she does have a bachelor's and a master's in criminal justice. So tell us a little bit about your
Okay.
journey there.
So, wow, that takes me way back. I got mine. I almost want to mumble it. I received my bachelor's in 1985.
Okay.
Yes, and it was quite the miracle in and of itself, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where the miracle in the mirror comes from, because I remember when I got my bachelor's degree, my sister said it should go in the Bible with the rest of the miracles, because I was not your average student.
Okay.
I was a strong partier. I am a person in long-term recovery, so I struggled with addiction
Uh-huh.
in high school and in college. However, I still completed my degree on time from Bowling Green State University,
Amen.
and it was in criminal justice corrections. I've always had a strong interest in the criminal justice system,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't think that I would go corrections. I really wanted to be FBI, even though I wasn't living the FBI lifestyle.
So, what made you go corrections?
I'm glad you asked. What made me go corrections was seeing the how the two um, people who end up in the criminal justice system is generally not always what people think.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the environmental influences, sometimes it's, generational influences, and poverty, addiction. There's so many variables that contribute to someone going to the institution that I was leaning toward law enforcement in opposed to correction, but
Mm-hmm.
because of the influence of the systemic racism, all discrimination, all these things play a part. School systems, there's a whole pipeline into the institution.
Yep, it's a cycle.
So I felt like I needed to be a interrupter. I wanted to work with corrections because I wanted to make sure that I helped equip people with the tools that they need to succeed. So that kind of leaned me more to the correction, social work type of work.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, can you think of, and if you can, it's okay. Can you think of any specific instance or maybe specific time coming up or in school or moment in time that made you realize this system is broken? Any like events that were taking place nationally, anything like that that made you be like, wow, this is a broken system and I want to jump in and see what I can do to do something about it?
Initially, no.
Okay.
Initially, it was all about just having a great career,
Okay.
and I really believed in the criminal justice system as far as corrections, that we could make a difference in people's lives and that everybody did not have to go to prison or be in the criminal justice system. There wasn't anything in particular that stands out. Maybe later on in the conversation I'll think of something,
Mm-hmm.
but there's nothing that really stands out to me during that time. In my
Right.
undergrad, I was wilding out, so I really wasn't that focused and I wasn't really saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I really want to make a difference in the world." I was just trying to get through it.
Right.
But maybe once I graduated and got my first job was with the Department of Youth Services, and again, I wasn't ready. I wasn't equipped to really be an interventionist at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sincere about my journey at that time. But as I worked in the system, I did experience all the um, I don't know how you say all the things that were going on in these households because I was
Right.
working with the youth systems. So I did get a chance to see how sometimes the environment was playing a real large role in these youth that were getting involved in the system, and they just didn't have sometimes the support at home because during this era the crack epidemic was very very strong and it was really interfering in the raising of children and it was really affecting the um, minority community.
Absolutely, because you got both parents going to jail.
Hmm.
You've got, dad going to jail, mom going to jail, people going to treatment,
Hmm.
neighborhoods overrun with drugs completely.
Hmm.
So it completely disrupted the platonic household, right? And we know what kind of effect that
Yes.
can unfortunately have on children, especially minority children. So,
Right. And so even though I was aware of those things, I was part of that cycle.
mm-hmm,
I was a part of the epidemic that was happening, even though I was maintaining a job, even though I had a degree, even though I was doing all the right things per society's view, I was struggling with addiction myself,
okay,
and then I was witnessing how it was really affecting households. So, did I take it serious at the time? I knew one day that I would be a catalyst to make a difference because I knew that wasn't going to be the death of me. That wasn't going to be my whole life. I thought it was just for me. I never thought I would be addicted. I thought I was just having fun and just kicking it. And then I found out that this thing is progressive. It is real. You can truly get caught up. And no matter how much self control you can, and know how many things you can accomplish in your life, addiction is real. It's a real disease. And no matter how smart, it's no respecter of persons. I felt I'm from a good household. I'm smart. I'm educated. No way could I be an addict. No way could I be an alcoholic.
it
It
can,
can't happen to
it can happen
anybody.
to anybody.
And I've always believed that it happened to me so that I could be a strong advocate for recovery. You
That's a
can,
great segue.
yes.
So, advocating for recovery. If you heard us in the beginning, we have the executive director of P2R. You have myself, an employee of P2R, as a project coordinator. What is P2R? What do we do?
Okay, well, P2R, let me just do our little mission statement.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, we're a multi-purpose community center that addresses that assists marginalized populations with real resources to improve their social and economic condition
Mm-hmm.
and lead toward promote independence.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. A better way of life with a whole host of different services. That was the summarized version, y'all, because when I first started there, I said, wow, these people do everything. There's not too many things that people have come through P2R's doors in need of that we were not able to directly help them with. But if we could not, we definitely had the resources to point them in the right direction because we are well connected within our community and we do serve all of Lorain County, and we partner with neighboring counties as well anytime somebody is in need. So I commend Miss Wendy. I've been seeing her, on her journey and the development of P2R from the beginning, and I am just astonished with where P2R started, where we're at, and where we're going. So,
Yeah, and I have to credit you to the tagline, impacting the community one service at a time. That kind of gives you the holistic view of what we're trying to do. We're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make sure we make an impact on assisting that population, that underserved population that are truly marginalized, not people who, have access, not people who have a family member they can call. These people that we service really have given up.
Mm-hmm.
They are the true marginalized. They are the individuals who are homeless. They are living on the street, or they're living in squalor, or they're living in conditions that are inhabitable. So there's a population that has some access. Most of the ones that come into P2R are so down on their luck. Um, and not always this, not to say we only cater to them, but I wanted to make sure I was there for them. Um,
Yeah, because they are the ones that need it the most,
mhm,
right? A
mhm,
lot of times we have people coming in the door and they are in such a state of hopelessness,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
They've been turned away from other agencies. They've been told no. They've been given the runaround. So they're walking in the door, sometimes disgruntled, sometimes expecting a no. They're just moving through the motions. And I have seen time and time again our caseworkers, case managers, peer support specialists really step in and help pick these people up. And they do have a miracle. And these are the miracles in the mirror. The interaction looks like as
Okay.
soon as I come in the door with all my problems.
And everyone that works there knows I'm a very strong advocate of how a person is treated when they come in the door,
Mm-hmm.
especially since they're in crisis. Says especially when they're feeling down and they're down on their luck and they're feeling hopeless. Um, First, we want to treat you like a human being.
Mm-hmm.
The very first thing, we're going to ask you to sign in and maybe do your intake form.
Mm-hmm.
But while you're doing your intake form, we're going to ask you, have you eaten today? Or would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like something to drink? Because at the end of the day, everybody needs to be treated like a human being. You know, want to humanize you. You humanize your condition so that you're not a cookie cutter type of individual coming in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
want you to feel like it's client centered, that is personal, and that we are taking personal care of you. So that's the very first thing that's going to happen. We're going to make sure you feel like a human being. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you're going to fill out a series of paperwork, because that's another reason. Sometimes it can be so intrusive, some of the questions that we have to ask people. You want to develop some type of rapport with them so they feel comfortable answering the questions. We're going to ask you some personal questions. We're going to ask you maybe how you got, who referred you. We're going to ask you some demographics, some basic demographics. Are you home? Referred you? Name, race, single, have children. We're going to assign a case manager to you.
Now, Wendy, I'm
Mhm,
coming in the door.
mhm.
I have these problems. I've been having these issues. I don't want to deal with any, corporate crap and, people that are looking down on me and looking at me as if I'm less than. So tell me about the people who are going to actually be working with me.
Well, as soon as you look on the door, and this is just something that, and this is why P2R was, how P2R was created. I hired marginalized people to work with marginalized people. So on the wall, it says, everyone who works here has been there. We speak your language. So P2R is unique in the fact that most of my staff, over 80%, have had a lifestyle struggle, whether it was displaced work, whether
Mm-hmm.
it were they were in recovery, whether they were in the institution, um, whether they were homeless at one time in their life. Um, they have been through they have life experiences that are comparable to the individuals that come in the door, and now they have worked hard to build paper against paper, is what I call it. And what that paperwork is, they get certified in peer support specialists, or they get trained under my own personal programming and techniques of cognitive behavioral type strategies and how to deal with eh, um, marginalized populations, or motivational interviewing. Not only I have my bachelor's in criminal justice corrections, but I also have my master's in justice administration, where I learned how to develop curriculums for different types of organizations. And then I also was a program administrator. Well, in in several different
Y'all, we
capacities.
got so many programs going on at P2R. Sometimes I lose count. We've
Yeah.
got so many different programs that cater to people facing various situations and various points in life. We pretty much have something for everybody to join into, so there is a sense of community, and so people know that they're not alone.
Yes, absolutely. And what I'm most proud of are the ones that my staff have created.
Mm-hmm.
We have Life on Life Terms, which is a peer group that Felicia Baggett facilitates. We recently started Face to Face Changes, which a peer specialist in training that uh, Jermaine Johnson created. And then we have Keys to Healthy Spending that Jermaine Johnson and Amy Fowles have created, and that program is about financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Rio Recover Employment Opportunities, which is the employment group that myself, Felicia, Jermaine have also assisted me in facilitating. And that particular program is all about becoming gainfully employed and being able to maintain that employment.
Absolutely.
We can help you get a job, but we got to,
we want you to keep
it.
that job.
Yes, yeah.
That has its challenges as well, right? Oftentimes we've seen many a client come through, be like, oh, I heard P2R could hook me up with a job. Get the job, I don't like it. Quit, come back. We want to maintain our relationship with the community as well. So if anybody out there is listening that's interested, we put you in the position so you can stay there, and just know if you want to do the job hop thing, you're going to have to come back and see us at Rio.
Yes, and the real cool thing about the Rio group is, it's an opportunity. You do a rubric to see where you're at in the whole employment readiness piece. But when you join Rio, it's to work through those obstacles that have prevented you from maintaining a job. The whole point of putting you in Rio is so we can help remove those barriers, personal or systemic or whatever those barriers are. So we want to make sure that you're able to maintain that job, because we're going to look at that transportation piece. We're going to look at childcare. We're going to look at do you have the proper equipment? But also, I do problem solving. I'm a trainer and facilitator of Thinking for a Change. I took tenets of the Thinking for a Change concept and did a problem solving session. So I do problem solving, decisional balance. These are all types of cognitive behavioral techniques to help you deal with problems and controversy on your job.
Absolutely. And y'all, we could go through each and every different type of peer group or peer support group. We could do a whole session on that alone, right? And just to backtrack, for the new face-to-face change group that is going on, I believe, through November.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Every Friday,
it's fire.
Yeah,
it's good.
This is something that is for the men, and you guys will hear a little bit more about this in upcoming podcast episodes, and you'll see it blasted on social media. These are for men who have faced whatever kind of challenge. It could have been incarceration, it could have been addiction, any type of life struggle, life challenge. This is a place for men to come in, be vulnerable, be seen, be heard, be amongst that kind of community in your peers, and for people who have transitioned through some of those challenges in life, so they can help you navigate through some of those challenges as well. It's really amazing what Jermaine is doing with that program. We know that's something that he's passionate about. I won't steal his thunder because he has his own episode where he will get to tell you guys firsthand what he's doing for that program or why he wants to do that. So
and I just want to say with the staff that have developed those peer groups, that is something that that each person that comes in will be afforded to participate in. After your interview, your first introduction to P2R, and you get assigned to a case manager, a needs assessment is made, and then an action plan that kind of prioritize what's most important. Because a lot of times you may not know what you need, or you think this comes first. I just need a job, but you don't have a license, you don't have childcare, you don't have clothes, you don't have somewhere to sleep.
Dealing with child support issues, dealing with
we might need to address some of those things first.
We're going to line them up, knock them down, and we're going to make sure they're done in the right order, so it does put you on the path to success.
Yes, and I'm going to just shout out to the employers. P2R does their best to vet whoever we refer to you. So I did a workplace stability project with the Mental Health Addiction and Recovery Services Board prior to opening P2R, and that was one of the main concerns of the employers was that we hired these people help them get through an interview, but nobody is helping them with soft skills. Nobody is taking a look at whether they will show up for work. Do they know to show up for work on time? Well, we make sure we address all those types of barriers, those issues, those thinking errors that may contribute to someone not being successful on the job. So those are some of the things we cover in Rio, and we try to vet each person that we're sending to that employer.
Absolutely. So we may have covered this a little bit already, but where or when did you first get the inspiration for P2R?
That's a good question because I always felt like I was going. I'm a center kid. My mom ran a community center when I was young, and I was very involved, with the programming that was at that center, and that was City View Center in Campedo and Lorraine, and a lot of programs and services were there for people who normally wouldn't have gotten connected to resources. So I kind of had this foundation for those type of programs, those type of services. Back in the day, they were called settlement houses, where you could access resources for your community. And that was really for the outsiders, those that were experiencing barriers because of race or discriminatory acts. They could go to the community center and get resources. So, the seed was planted way years ago. I just didn't know it. And so once I got off into my career, I did a lot of program development. One of the first things I did, my internship was with the prosecutor's office in Lorraine County for the Court of Common Pleas. And my job was to develop the victim advocate curriculum. So if there was a victim of crime, there was a resource pamphlet or a resource binder that was put together, and that was my internship. So I'm always been pulling at this whole advocacy, this whole support of marginalized populations. When I worked for the Department of Corrections, I developed programs constantly. Well, my whole section of my house had just a slew of program materials of all the different programs that I've written, that I've taken, that I signed up for everything. And I told my mom one day, I said, I don't know where this stuff is going, but for some reason I feel like I need it. I said, God is just telling me don't get rid of it. Well, lo and behold, when I went and worked, when I retired from parole, I was asked, oh, you were an officer. I've never been an officer of any type. I have been a counselor and I have been a parole program specialist. I have always done programming. That's all I do. Case management, programming. I've never been a police, never been a parole officer, never been a corrections officer.
Didn't want to.
That wasn't my scene. So when people say it, I just laugh. And they say, oh, I remember when you were a parole officer. I said, never been a parole officer.
Right.
That's not what I do.
Because no.
So I'm glad to be doing this podcast so I can put that out there. It's like, no,
yeah,
I've always done programming.
Absolutely. But that doesn't take away so people can really understand you have been helping people immensely for a very long time. So let's narrow it down. Since P2R's inception, how many clients do you think have come through our doors? How many people
I don't even have to think about it. It's like, because we kept a roster. So let me just go back to one question.
Sure.
When you said the idea, I'm also a person in long-term recovery. I got sober in 1995, 28 years to the good. So, needing to have a place where we were accepted. People in Lorraine County being kind of small, they got a chance to see me in my other element, in my party element, but had no idea about my education, had no idea about my program ability, had no idea and did not care. And reasoning for wanting to start an organization was to help people who are just like me, who have other levels of professionalism, that have other levels of gifts and talents, that have the ability to grow and to become something much more than what happened to them.
That
So
still
that
affect you today?
to some degree, um, I could say yes,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm so strong in my conviction to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that my experiences are the reason why I'm doing what this
Absolutely.
organization, to teach people how to accept people
Mm-hmm.
and how to treat them when they've had a mistake in their life or a blemish in their record. That is not a death sentence.
Look, I'm gonna say it if she doesn't want to say it, because Miss Wendy is gonna be nice and tactful. If you are still looking at this woman and judging her from her past because you knew her how 28,
Years ago, yeah.
30 plus years ago, let it go. Let it go. Look at what she's accomplished. Look at what she's doing for this community. Let it go.
Or not, because
Or
I'm going to do it
it
anyway.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you do
Yeah.
still have those people, especially with being so well connected,
Mm-hmm.
working with various churches, other nonprofits, other corporations.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be easy to be walking your journey and still recall people from the past, right?
Yes,
Who
ma'am.
still want to hold on to it.
And that was the reason for starting the organization,
Mm-hmm.
to help people get beyond what people say about them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because they talked about Jesus, they're gonna talk about us.
yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And that has absolutely, look, let them talk. You continue to build paper against paper. That's one of my, things I hold tried and true. I continue to build and grow. I believe the more people talk, the more I do.
Right. It's all
It's
good.
like,
It's all good publicity.
yes, it all, even the stars out there, they create their own publicity by
Mm-hmm.
creating controversy.
Absolutely.
So I think it's, all it does is just demonstrate how good God is and that I am a
Amen.
miracle. And you're right, I could have absolutely never did this without God. It's an assignment, it's a ministry. And I absolutely am excited to be a vessel that He's using to get this work done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we're hoping that this podcast, that it expands our reach and that it reaches many and it touches somebody out there who's listening, who may want to give us a call, 440-434-8030.
8033.
8033.
Before we get off, it would be me to not mention my beginnings with P2R.
Yes.
First of all, stakeholders in the community, Dr. Jerome Davis, Miss Robin Tillman, James Carter, Cynthia Reed, for a short period of time, Stacy Murray, Barbara Lucky, my sister Anna Maria Caldwell. They were all at the table with me creating the nonprofit P2R Training and Resource Center. They were very effective in making sure I had my bylaws done, making sure we had a place in the community, but also making sure that we were correct and legal. So we did our due diligence to have everything, all our T's, I's dotted, and T's crossed from the very beginning. And they are the reason that P2R is in existence today, because they believed and they sat beside me and helped me build my organization as far as the foundational piece and supported me all the way through. Now, I don't have all those same people at the table, and sometimes things don't work out. But I would, like I said, I have to say thank you to them because they did believe in me. So thank you, P2R board, for believing in me and helping me get started. Also, I had some staff people that helped me in those very early years. I had Rebecca Seal. She was my first She was my first staff person.
Mm-hmm.
She helped me get started. She helped me develop my curriculum. She helped me, just to get things in order to start applying for grants. Also, Terry Mickens, Deltrin Kimbrough, Esther Harris. They were my Patty Smith. They were my first staff. But, like I said, every journey has its different level. So they were my very first contract workers, and they helped me get started on the journey to where we are here today. So those different, made some mistakes coming out the gate. First agency.
Absolutely. It's
it's a process, but I appreciate my beginnings, and I have no hard feelings about those beginnings. But I had to figure it out. I learned a lot with those fresh starts. So the staff that I have now, Sometimes some of them will not make it to each year. These are all contract positions. This is an evolving agency. So sometimes I'm writing grants for a season, and it's difficult to let people go. But this is a business, and in order for me to write grants, and Lejean, you know yourself, I
Yep.
always tell people this is a grant-run agency. Please
Hmm.
keep that in mind because it may, I don't know how long it'll last. I worked grant positions before, and I left after 2 years because it was too unpredictable for me. It's like, you don't know if you got a job or you
Hmm.
don't. So, contract done, money get cut, don't have the money to go into the next
I
season.
don't know what you're talking about, y'all. We P2 are gonna be around for a long time.
I don't know. Look. I'm trying to look. Just I'm gonna put it out there. I'm working myself out of a job. I've already worked for 30 years. I am
Hmm.
grooming my staff to be leaders, and they are gonna be running this thing. It's gonna be around forever. I believe. I think we've tapped into something, but I don't have to be there. I just got to build the foundation strong. And what I'm trying to do today is to groom people that have the same passion. Maybe they won't do it the way I do it, but at least get the content, get the context of, you know, helping the marginalized population, humanizing people, being there for people, client centered services. We can't solve all your problems today. Collaborating with these different organizations. When we came on the set, we didn't come to destroy anybody's um, focus or what they do for their organization. We wanted to make sure people got to you. You
Absolutely.
can't help people who didn't come in the door,
Hmm.
and P2R can get them in the door. I'm just saying, we can get them in the door.
Absolutely. So you
We
touched on it a little bit. Where are we headed? Where is P2R headed? Can you tell us anything about where P2R is headed in your vision? Now, I know,
God help us.
where do you, I know you see us going in a couple of different directions, right? But where, if you could disclose anything
Well,
to myself and the people, where do you see P2R going? What do you see for our
well,
future?
everybody who knows me, they think I talk a lot, but I talk about things on purpose. Um, I really don't discuss where I see P2R
Mm,
because I got an idea.
yeah, I knew that was
Yeah,
coming.
yes, but where I do see us as far as I see us becoming more solid in being a social enterprise. Um, Being a social enterprise meaning a agency that is in demand, that has a staple, that has a foundational money opportunities being written into the budget for the city, for the state, um, to make sure that our services are around. Um,
And that's about all we are probably going to get out of her for where P2R is going in
we're
our vision and where we're headed. I think I have an idea, but I won't spoil it. You'll see. You if you follow us on social media, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. You can search Place to Recover Training and Resource Center on Facebook. You can on Instagram search P2RLC, short for Lorain County. That'll be tagged under here. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube. We're going to be around for a while, and you're going to get to hear some really impactful stories from the rest of the P2R family.
I did want to say one thing.
Sure.
Um, if you're looking for the nonprofit, P, the number two, the letter R, Training and Resource Center Incorporated is the nonprofit agency in which that's where all the staff, the case manager, the peer support, the workforce group, all of those things are under P2R, Training and Resource Center, the nonprofit. There is also an LLC, which is a sister organization, which is um, Place to Recover LLC is not part of the nonprofit. So if you look up the LLC and you're like, she's not a nonprofit, you're looking at the wrong agency. P2R is the nonprofit. Place to Recover does some specialized projects still. I'm the CEO of that as well and the owner of that organization. And I do some smaller projects under that, well as some motivational speaking and some assisting different organizations with grant writing and things of that nature. But my focus is the nonprofit, which is P2R.
So, Wendy, tell me a little bit, just real briefly, for anybody who's watching at home or laying on the couch and scrolling and can see this clip, who may be dealing with recovery, who may be active in their addiction.
Mm-hmm.
What was your biggest challenge in recovery? Biggest challenge or greatest victory?
Well, my biggest challenge was believing I had an addiction. My biggest challenge, because
getting over the denial.
I was definitely, I didn't believe I had a problem. You know, I was just having fun, you know. But when I couldn't stop, when I was pregnant with my daughter and I was still drinking, I was still out there in the streets, you know, hanging out, partying, that was my biggest motivator to get sober. Because you know, I was taken care of. I was raised by two parents in a two-parent household with strong spiritual beliefs, with a strong work ethic. I was introduced to I had all the possibilities. I was a kid with a lot of advantages. Everybody thought I was going to be something great. You know, my mom, I laugh and I speak a lot in the community, in the recovery world. And my everybody thought I was going to be like something huge. I could have been like Michelle Obama, and I chose to be like hanging out in New Jack City. You
Okay.
know, you know, and I always say that in my leads and stuff. I said my mom was trying to create this because I was going to be an attorney. You know, I just had so much promise on my life, and so I was still accomplishing things. And I had gotten a degree. I had a great job with the state. I came right out of college and got a job with the state of Ohio in the Ohio Department of Youth Services. Never went without a good job. So I didn't think I had a problem. Always had a car, always had clothes, always had all the luxuries of life. I always had everything that you're supposed to have, but I also had an addiction.
You cannot judge a book by its
No,
cover.
you cannot.
No one addiction scenario looks like the other. You cannot look at people and judge them because you never know. You never know what somebody is going through, but I digress.
Yes, and absolutely. I mean, I was in the church. I was a debutante. I was everything that you think your child
you're going through, but I digress.
Yes, and absolutely. I mean, but I still was struggling with alcoholism and drug addiction a little later on down the road. So that was my biggest obstacle, believing that I was sick.
Okay.
And then once realizing how sick I was, overcoming the stigma of getting help. Did not want to disappoint my mom anymore. I didn't want that out there in the world, but everybody already knew, you know. And
yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't want to get the help. You know, I thought I could do it by myself. So realizing that I needed to get treatment, called a helpline, and I ended up in California. So my recovery journey started in Long Beach, California, which was amazing. I got, sober in a humongous like mansion on Ocean Boulevard. Not really the recovery story that you look at, but it did give me hope because I got sober with people that had money and resources, and it helped me realize that even though I had education, even though I had resources, that I could be sick too.
And that you weren't alone and being in that kind of position.
Right. And I got sober with professionals. So it was like, okay, we can have a problem because all the, you seep to a certain level and you start hanging out with a group of people who, and they're saying, well, you ain't that bad. You still got lights. Well, okay. You still got a car. You still got a job.
That doesn't mean that I still don't have a problem.
Right.
And don't dismiss my problem so that really just goes to show that all shapes, forms of all different addiction comes in, and you shouldn't. You really judge people. I can't say it enough because you just never know. We've seen same thing with clients. We've seen people come from all different types of walks of life. Doesn't matter whose family they belong to or what kind of job they've had. It can happen to anybody. And just a quick break. If you are active in your addiction and whether you're in recovery, struggling with recovery, whatever the case may be, you are welcome in P2R doors. Come to us if you're looking for something else that you need, that you're missing, any type of resource, whatever that looks like for you. I implore you, come to us. And if we don't have it, we're pointing you in the right direction.
Absolutely. So, we collaborate with everybody. So moving on, one of the biggest accomplishments for me.
Yes, greatest victory.
Greatest victory. Wow. Well, one of the greatest victory was getting my master's in justice administration and become a licensed professional. That's one of the greatest victories. Graduating with honors with that master's degree because I, flip flopped and crazy through that
Even through
undergrad.
your, so you're, wait. Let's back up. So you're telling me that you were graduating with honors with your bachelor's still active in?
No, no, no.
No.
I was
Okay.
no. Listen, the undergrad, I crawled through that. So you
Okay.
asked me what was my greatest accomplishment in recovery.
Correct.
I went back to school because even though I graduated with the bachelor's degree, it sucked. My grade point average was in the, it was
okay.
So I had to redeem myself. I had to,
She said I owed it to myself.
I owed it to myself that you could do better than this. I've got back on, by my chin through that undergrad. And I said, I'm better than this. I'm going back to school. So in 2001, 2002, I went back to get my master's in justice administration from Tiffin University, and I 4-pointed it all the way through. So that was like, yes. And then I was promoted. I always worked for the state. So when I got my promotion to the parole department, that was major for me because I had my license, I had my bachelor's, I had my license in chemical dependency counseling, and I had my master's. And so those were huge. And so when I got my position as a parole program specialist with a specialization in chemical dependency, I had, and that was huge for me because, like I said, I thought I was going to be on another journey, on another path. I still have a desire to possibly, I never finished a law degree, and I kept saying I was going to go back and get the law degree.
She's still trying to do it all. Superwoman.
No, I'm not doing that. I can't go back to school. It's like I can't. Not while I run this agency. I cannot.
But to even still have that kind of motivation and drive still coming through addiction, being in recovery, opening up your agency, the LLC, the nonprofit, retiring from the criminal justice department, and still wanting to do more to serve your community. So I commend you. It's commendable.
But before you close me out, let me just say,
yes, please.
P2R is my greatest victory.
Okay.
Because that's legacy. And I wanted to be able to write grants. I wanted to be good at it. I had started writing grants back in the 80s. No, back in the 90s. But I wasn't really good at it. I'm trying to get good at it. And I'm on my way.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I know you are. So that's it, folks. I think that is the end of the first session, the first Miracle in the Mirror podcast, one of many. We're going to keep this thing going. Again, if you are looking for any type of assistance, resources, whatever, pick up the phone and call us. You should see it below, 440-434-8033.
Everybody is welcome. I just can't add any further that if you ever have went to an agency and felt like you were being judged, or if you felt any type of stigma, P2R is the place for you because everyone who works there has been there. We speak your language. Get in touch.
Thank you all so much. I mean, just from finish, hearing your journey orchestrated like that is something that I've heard you say many times in the office. I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through.